Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee and Darts, and I just realized I ran the wrong intro for this one. Oops. This is episode 51, and Tony Zikas is going to be joining us from Condor and Trinidad. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you for checking out the show, and don't forget to like the show. Smash that little thumbs up button and the heart button as you're watching, and if you're not already subscribed on YouTube, if you're watching us that way, please go ahead and subscribe. And I want to thank my wonderful sponsors, of course, Shot Darts at shotdarts.com. Check them out. They've got some really cool new stuff coming out, still celebrating their 50th anniversary in the darting community. So check that out. They've got some cool stuff that I saw yesterday that's new, that is on the horizon, and it is beautiful. It is really cool looking stuff. So keep an eye out on that. Also want to thank Magicwear for the wonderful jerseys, and I get to give you guys a little sneak preview here real quick. This is what the new jersey for this quarter is going to look like. So we got the proper logo on there, or the logo that got created, and that's what this fourth quarter jersey is going to look like. It's going to be available on the site soon so that you can go ahead and order it. And those that did order this jersey, I talked with them yesterday. They are about to ship them out. They're done in production, and you guys should be getting them shortly. All right, without any further ado, I do want to bring on Tony, and I also want to mention that thanks to Tony, and hey, Tony, welcome to the show.
Hello.
But Tony has been kind enough working with Condor they're going to come on and help represent their brand here with the show. We're talking about that, and so they're going to become another sponsor with the show. So thank you to Condor. You guys are going to get to hear me talk about that here in the future. But hey, Tony, thanks for coming on the show to talk some soft tip. We're going to talk Condor. We're going to talk Trinidad. Thanks a lot. And it is, just so that I correct myself, Tony Zikas, because I think I said Tony Zika at one point, which got you in some hot water.
Yeah.
That's my fault. I apologize.
Some people thought I created the Zika virus, and I didn't.
Was not Tony. Was not Tony that did that. That was something else.
Wasn't me.
Hey, Tony. So, again, thank you for coming on the show. You and I have been Facebook friends for a couple of years now. You shot me some Condor stuff a couple years ago when it was just the more flexible stuff. And we've been talking, and I used to sell Condor when we were doing more product-oriented stuff with Atomic Darts. But how did you get into darts? I mean, you've been doing this for a while. Can you give me a little background or story about getting into darts?
Well, real quick, I started playing darts probably, I'm going to age myself, but like late 70s, early 80s, when it was just steel tip. I'm probably the last steel tipper in Pittsburgh to make the transition into soft tip, which is about 7 years ago. I love the game. I love everything about darts. I love promoting probably more than anything. Two things I know for sure about darts. There's players on the world stage, and I'm not one of them. So, I just go out and do my thing. I promote the products, enjoy and engaging with people, meeting people, just playing darts in general. And I'm getting a lot more involved with promoting the game of darts. For example, I do a ladies only event in Pittsburgh. I'm involved with a steel tip event that was unfortunately canceled by COVID this year, the Steel City Open. But I just love the game, love playing the game.
Nice. Yeah, it's a great game to play. And watching you on Facebook, following you in social medias, you're at tournaments like constantly. Like it's almost like it's your life. You're at the tournaments, and it seems like you're having a blast with the darts, and you're involved with everybody. Everything I see is you're constantly doing stuff, and it's one of the things I really like about having the connection with you and being social friends. And now we get to be kind of personal friends because we get to meet each other. But I just love how involved you are in the sport. So you're involved in the sport. You're doing this stuff, and how's the connection with Condor and Trinidad? And just so that everybody knows, Condor and Trinidad are like brother-sister companies. They're the same company, but they do different things. But can you talk a little bit about becoming involved with Condor?
Right. Well, it's a funny story. It's at the TOC. It's a tournament of champions run by the PPD. probably the largest tournament in the U.S. I went into the tournament. I was feeling, stroking good. I was feeling good about my game. Then all of a sudden I got the yipes, and I'm like I picked. So I went over to Horizon Darts, had a booth there. I said, I got to try something new. And I seen these Condors. I said, well, let me try them. So I put them on, and it didn't miraculously change my game, but it put confidence back in my game. And I was like, oh my God, I love these things. I was fortunate enough to, at that point, run into Hitomi, who is the international rep or the manager for Condor. And I had a little conversation with her, a couple more conversations. I became a product tester. And I just promoted so much. Now I'm one of two of North American team leads. Me and James Hopkins, we have probably about 30 people under us, product testers, that are constantly promoting the product. I just love everything about it. Especially the part where I don't have to worry about trying. I used to use the old nylon shaft and the old stick in nylon flight, and they would pop off. That's so great. I don't have to bend over and pick them up anymore. It just took off for me. Personally, it just took off for me that way.
So yeah, those that don't know, this is what a Condor. This is their original kind of product here. And Tony, I think this is kind of your design right here. It's got the little dragon on it. And then they have this product, the Axe, which is a little bit harder, stiffer product. So if you're not familiar with this product, it's really awesome. I know I've talked about it. My kids play with it. This is the original. It's got some good flexibility. It flexes out pretty well, goes back. So the idea behind the product, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm stealing your thunder here, but it's a shaft flight combo. So it's one unit. You're not worried about flights popping off.
Correct.
Issues with that. Can you talk a little bit about the design of the product and kind of the benefits of it?
Well, the design is, they call it a zero stress because it's a 2-in-1 product. It's you don't have it. You just buy. You get the shaft and flight. It's all in one. They have a special design on the shaft where there's grooves in it to kind of minimize the resistance, flight resistance. And they've done some tests in Felix Corporation, who's the main company for Condor Trinidad. Where they did some tests where they had a pro dart player throw, I don't know, maybe 100 bulls or some, and the amount of bulls he hit with using a Condor were much greater than using just a standard flight setup, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I saw that test. It was right. They publicized it a couple years ago. It was
right.
Whoever Japan's number one was at the time.
Right at the time. But at they came out with the Condor zero stress flight. A lot of people, they were like, well, it's flimsy, I don't like it. So what they did is they came up with the Axe flight, right? The original Axe flight, when it first came out, it was originally, I think, designed for steel tip, So, but people that liked the Condor and wanted a stiffer, they started buying them up. But when the original Axe, when it hit the soft tip board, it's like a springboard. When it bounced out, it came out with probably 3 times as much force as going in, and when it hit the floor, it just shattered.
Yeah.
So they went back to the drawing board. They came up with a new improved Axe flight, which it holds up. Nothing's gonna last forever, but they hold up so much better. So much better. It's just, I can't say anymore. It just holds up a lot better than the original.
Yeah, and I did a review on the original one, and my tester is my son, because he plays and he throws as hard as he can because he doesn't understand, anything other than that. And the original Axe broke relatively quickly. You sent me a couple sets of the new formula, which Dylan has been playing with, no breakage. I'm playing with them now. I have switched over to these guys and absolutely love them. And I'll tell you, and I think I was telling you this earlier, really, I hit like 8 180s in the first day or two of playing with them. And I had never hit that many 180s in that short a period of time. And anybody that's watched me play, on video, that. And I'm killing it with these things. I'm loving it to death. So just wanted to throw that little story in there. So, yeah.
Real quick, like I never bang the other systems that are out there. Personally, if you like FitFly, if you like, L style, that's great. Just as long as you're playing darts. But I would say, if you're looking for a change, just give Condor a shot. At the very least, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But as long as you're playing darts, I'm all for it.
Yeah. So, and if anybody's noticed, like if you've been watching PDC darts of late, you've been watching like Kim Hybrick's. Everybody was talking about his new flights and shaft combination. It was kind of that neon green. Well, here's the neon orange. They're Condors. There's probably 5 or 6 PDC players that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Devin Peterson, who won just recently, he's been playing them for a while. So this product's out there. It's being tested. So, what else? In regards to Condor, what else, are they doing? Is there, I know that you're promoting this. Is this a soft tip product? Is this a steel tip product?
Oh, it's both. It's soft tip is huge, especially on the where I'm in Pittsburgh. It's used pretty much everywhere. So I think the soft tip players are using the product more than, let's say, the steel tip player. Because if you go to, for example, Dart Shop Tito's, where that's the Trinidad Condor online store, as soon as they get a shipment of the neon or graduation new axe flights out, they sell out in days. Like you can't get them; they're hot, and it's predominantly soft tip players that are after them. I get contacted on a daily basis from people across the country. Where can I buy them? Where can I try them? I get a handful of flights that for promotion. I send them out everywhere. I'm out of stock.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, what are some of the other benefits? Like you and I were talking about, you work with some darts players that are slightly disabled or have some handicaps in regards to, physical ailments. And you were mentioning that this product's great for that. Do you have any stories or anything that go along with how this product, like for kids, it's phenomenal. I'll attest to that. But some of the things that you've seen out when you've been promoting or just playing darts?
Well, especially these kids that I work with before the COVID, we were trying to get a tournament together, but a lot of them use the bar darts, but a couple of them have their own darts. And one girl specifically, Katie, she had her own darts, but she had difficulty. The flight would fall off, and just trying to get it back on the shaft was difficult. I gave her a set of Condors. She was so excited because the fact that, at the very least, for kids, for anybody that has, if you're older and you're a dart player, you just have the dexterity. You can't see, because it's dark in a lot of places, to get that flight in the shaft. This solves the problem for it. You don't no longer have to worry about it. And I've had some stories where some other shooters have told me, for example, like in Pittsburgh, Bruce Cottrell told me he's been shooting darts for a long time. And he said, ever since I gave a set of darts to Gary Duhaney, for example, his game shot up through the roof. So I've seen a lot of people that I've introduced a product that got back to me and said, "Oh, this is a great product. I love it. It's helping my game." But I don't want to kill you. There's people that, get back to me and say, "You know what? I'm not crazy about it. I don't like it. And that's okay. You have your choice.
Yeah. Well, and that's the great thing, about having options in it. And I'll tell you the original one, the flimsy one, I thought it was cool, but it wasn't for me, and I wasn't playing it. I thought it was a little too flimsy. But I could see where maybe soft tip players liked it more. And at the time, unfortunately, I'm in a little box in the country where there's not a lot of soft tip. So for me, that I was like, I gave it to my kids. It was great for my kids because they can screw it on if for some reason something happened. They could get it on there, and I stopped putting flights on for them, which thank heavens. Oh my gosh!
But the new generation axe that they brought out, that solves. If you don't like that bendy flexi, it solves that problem. So
yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I literally have switched over to it on all my darts. I'm enjoying it. Now, I will say for anybody that gets this, because of the design element and the slight stiffness to it, you do get a different flight trajectory. It is holding, it's giving you a little bit more lift. So your trajectory is slightly different, and you have to adjust to that at first. But it's a great product. We're seeing pros that are playing this particular product and having an incredible amount of success. Out of curiosity, and I know this is top of mind, maybe like a list of guys that you know of that are throwing this, that are steel tip, or soft tip.
Well, James Hopkins, he has barrel from Trinidad, the Python. He's the only U.S. player that is sponsored by Trinidad Condor. You have James Bailey out of Australia, Devin Peterson, Sousa,
Kim Hybrids.
Well, Adrian Gray.
Yeah.
And those, I can't go through the list of the A's because I can't even pronounce the name, but there's about 75 that they support.
Now, did you say that Whitlock was using them as well?
Yes, Simon Whitlock is using them as well.
Yeah, so we're talking about people that went deep in a tournament that we just saw, and these are players that typically don't go as deep into these tournaments. Maybe this is why. Maybe this is the change they needed. I'm not going to say that's specifically it, but it is a change they made. Just throwing it out there.
I agree. A lot of times you hear people, you get the yipes, like I did when I went to TOC. I'm not comparing myself to these guys, but maybe they were going through something, because darts are, 90%, it's mental. And you might need, I want to try something new that just takes your mind off everything, and all of a sudden you find your game again, and you're like, is it the flights or is it me?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, here's a question that came in that I just want to throw out to you. Bullseyes and Brewskis, which you guys should check out on YouTube. Great little show going on there. But they're asking, where can they buy them or give them a try? So Hugh in the U.S., I know that you're promoting them and sending them out to people that ask, but where in the U.S. could someone purchase these?
As of right now, you can get at Horizon Darts Company or A to Z Darts. Those are the only two authorized distributors in the U.S.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they don't have them in stock, and you PM me, and if I'll send you a sample set to try out.
Yeah. Yeah, and guys, they're not super expensive when you come into the context of buying shafts and flights regularly, because these do last longer than a typical flight shaft situation. They hold up really well, so they're not really expensive. In the scheme of things, that I think they're more in an average price range. I don't remember specifically what they're going for from A to Z, which is where I purchased mine. But again, it's a great little system. So I want to talk a little bit about soft tip darts. You've been into the soft tip world for a little while now. We won't bring age into this situation, but let's talk a little bit, because as much as I've got two soft tip boards hanging on my wall. I'm looking at one, and there's one right behind me. So I love to play soft tip with my kids. It's a great game. We do math lessons with my son on soft tip, which is, great. But let's talk a little bit about the game. Maybe educate me a little bit on soft tip and when did it come here? Where did it come from? Let's talk a little bit about the game.
Well, I could tell you, I think it was like in the I don't know. I think the early '80s when it first started taking off. Just keep in mind, I played steel tip. I was playing steel tip before soft tip came about. In fact, when it was coming to Pittsburgh, I was playing steel tip. This is a true story. Larry McManus, who was a big promoter in darts in Pittsburgh, we were playing steel tip. He had a soft tip setup. At the time, I'm throwing 28-gram steel tip darts, right? He sets this up. He says, hey, TZ, come over and give this a try. There were bar darts, right? I've never seen anything like this. I threw 3 darts over the board. I'm like, I'm never going to play this. This is crazy. I didn't really, but what are they, 9, 10 gram versus a 28 gram? It's like night and day. But I would say in the '80s, but it has taken off. If you go to the tournaments now, like you go to the bull shooter, like Pennsylvania Regional, there's maybe 900 people, 1,000 people. Go to any NDA event, there's 1,000 people. Go to a PPD TOC event, there's 1,000 plus people. It has grown and it's just taken over. It's just a monster, it's a monster game. And the nice thing about it is anybody can play, especially the soft tip. I know a lot of soft tippers don't like to play steel tip because there's math involved, but that's based on where you went to school. But soft tip kids can play it. I mean, there's leagues. They're Jeff Smith in Kansas. He's developing a youth league where for the next generation, and it's everyone could play this game. Women, little girls, little boys, men, older women. You can just continue the sport that you love. You know what I mean? I love the game of darts, so I'm going to keep playing. Even if I'm a walker, I could still play. I'm going to.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of this sport. And I say this probably every time I have an interview with someone, is that one of the things I love the most about the sport is that it is encompassing. It's open. My 6-year-old son has beaten me. I don't remember. I've lost track. He knows. And I'll be honest, it's because we're playing soft tip. Because all he has to do is complete the number out. We're not finishing on a double. I may be trying to finish on doubles because I play in a league where we do that. So for me, it's a practice situation. But that's one of the other beauties of soft tip. It's different than steel tip to some degree. You can play cricket on both boards. But like my daughter who just turned 5, who by the way loves her Condors, absolutely loves her Condors. Because they're flexible, she can chew on them. I mean, there's a million different reasons she loves these things. They're colorful, but she plays darts with us, and I don't worry about her throwing a soft tip dart versus a steel tip. I don't want to put a steel tip in her hands any day of the week because she's 5 and she has horns. But again, it's the beauty of the sport. So you've been involved in a number of tournaments. What are some fun tournaments you've been involved in, and maybe some fun stories to go along with that?
Well, one of the biggest tournaments that I personally involved with is I started doing a ladies only tournament because in Pittsburgh, in the tri-state area where I live, because I didn't see anything for just women. It's always been, luck of the draws or this or that, but there's nothing just specifically women. I think it's because I grew up with 8 sisters, so I'm kind of geared to that. But I kind of I get a kick out of, you get, for women, for anyone, getting the confidence to play darts at a big event is hard. So I structure my events so that if you're a newbie player, you come in. And I had a girl that this was one of my biggest moments. Maybe a C shooter, for example, just starting out, and she actually won and she was crying. She wanted a picture of her with the trophy, and it's a couple $100, and she wanted to show her mom, and that was so exciting to me. And the other thing was, and it almost when I work with the special group that I work with, and I see them play, and I see, I mean, they're competing like heck against each other, but at the same time, they're cheering on each other. That it almost brought tears to my eye. I mean, because that's a definition of what darts to me is. It's that competitive and cheering on at the same time. Like I want to beat you, but I don't hate you attitude. So pretty much that's it. That's the biggest things.
Yeah, and that is again the beauty of darts, and you see that in professionals. As much as they want to beat each other, they give a great deal of respect when they see someone throw a 9-darter or someone get a big fish, a 170 out, or something that is it takes the skill, and you see that when you watch on TV, and even with this virtual game that's happening, you see a lot of respect that's coming across, and it doesn't matter. Everybody wants to win, but you got to give the respect to the people that, and when, hey man, you get a 154 out. I mean, I got to respect you. That's I didn't do it. You did it type of thing.
Right.
So you're in Pittsburgh, so you're on the East Coast, and that makes sense that you like steel tip. Kind of makes sense, and it makes sense that you're throwing darts that weigh like 8 pounds, made of steel. So I'm not gonna hold anything against that.
Condor.
Exactly. With soft tip, because I really want to drive. Again, it's not in my world other than what I play on my walls. And I wish it was more, because I love the game that soft tip, gives you. And of course, you can play all the same stuff, either board. It doesn't matter specifically. You can play typically a soft tip oriented game with a steel tip board. You don't have to do double outs. That's not a requirement. And the same thing with the soft tip board. You can throw and set the board up so that it's double outs. I mean,
you can set up to any level you want.
Yeah. So like bull shooters and these tournaments that are out there, there's Phoenix Darts, which is an incredible organization as well that's doing soft tip. And we're not seeing those tournaments right now because of the COVID situation. Have you heard anything? Do you know of anything when these tournaments are going to start kind of coming back?
We've had, like, the NDA had to cancel. We just have a regional PAMA. It's our state tournament. It was supposed to be in October. They canceled. And until I think they allow for gatherings where, I don't even see when, maybe, to be honest, maybe after this election, maybe sometime in December, they'll start opening up. I know all these big organizations are chomping at the bit to do what they do. The NDA, the PPD, Extreme Dart. They're all chomping at the bit to get these events off and running. And the government, they're just restricted. I can't tell you when. I don't have that crystal ball. I don't have that. I wish it would. I wish I could tell you, but I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to kind of know. And the funny thing about it is, in when you think about it, the reason they're restricted is because of how many people show up to these events. So that's a plus side to say, hey, there's that many people that are involved and the community of darts. The sad thing is, because of those numbers, we're not seeing darts. Are you seeing much soft tip being played online? Like everything, for the most part, I'm seeing out on social media from a virtual standpoint is steel tip. Are you seeing much soft tip out there?
Yeah, I'm seeing soft tip. It's for example, I'm the league coordinator for H. Lazar in Pittsburgh. I haven't been able to do a league because it's a traveling league. You go from bar to bar, because not all the bars are, because of PA guidelines, not opening up. There's just a handful of bars here and there, but a lot of them are doing remote play. And the PPD, for example, Darts TOC, they do 100% remote. So it doesn't matter where you live, you can join them and play. In fact, they do a monthly uh, events. They just did normally they run the TOC right in Kansas City, which is a live event where they get 1,000 people. They couldn't do that this year because there's no way you're going to get 1,000 people in a location. So they did a 3-day remote event, which was awesome. Where you get a chance to win some dollars, play people from across the country that have bars open, if you know what I mean. But I think most of it is remote as of right now. Remote leagues. Nothing live. Not so much live.
Yeah. There's a gentleman I know that does the Phoenix darts, and of course, a lot of the soft tip, or like bull shooters, they've got their own dart boards. You've got Darts Live, which you have a system there. You've got Phoenix Darts, which has a system for it. But a lot of these, and I'm seeing this, they're creating virtual cards so that you can play virtually. You can use your own soft tip setup to make it happen. But I've heard of people getting a hold of boards and having leagues in their house.
Well, you gotta watch that. I know the bull shooter doesn't condone that, so you gotta kind of watch if you get one, watch who you play. But when you said Phoenix on the East Coast, the Phoenix boards, like in my area, there aren't that popular. There aren't that many available. But Extreme Darts, they run a remote league, remote play where you can play on Phoenix boards, where they have the cards where you were saying where you plug it in and it tells you your stats, if you're a AA, BB, CC or whatever. And I don't know if Johnny K is doing anything out his way. He's on the eastern side of the state. I'm sure he has Phoenix boards out that way as well. So they can all tie into the Phoenix boards on the West Coast as well. So it's all, remote.
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of it. And then the virtual card that's out there allows you to play, kind of with any soft tip board. From what I understand, I just signed up for the Phoenix virtual board. I haven't had technically a Darts Live card or a Phoenix or anything because there's none of those boards in my area. I am honestly tempted to see if I can get a board and set it up in my garage and just have people come play here just to make it happen. But what I did find out yesterday is, and this was with Phoenix and I know with some of the other boards, is just go ask people if they'll install them. They'll put these things in bars. They're not going to charge them for this, from what I understand. So if you don't have it in your area like me, you got to put a little effort out, but you could probably get a board set up. Again, since you're more into the soft tip world because it's not as big in my area, what are some of we've talked about Phoenix, we've talked about, like I brought up Live Darts, you've brought up a couple of different things. Can you name off some of the different organizations out there that people could look into?
Well, I can tell you the Darts TOC, PPD, you can check them out. They have leagues, remote leagues, 6 days a week, all different times. They have 2-man, 3-man, and even 4-man teams, and everything is flighted based on your skill level. Like you can play, I think Donnie Ram, Leonard Gates, Mike Maloney. You can play the top guns if you want. They're in there. And NDA started doing a online, I think a monthly event.
Yep.
Extreme Darts, they're on the East Coast. They're tied in with Phoenix. Other than that, those are the ones that come to mind that I think of.
Yeah. And I know Phoenix, and again, it's because I did some research on Phoenix Darts yesterday. And joined and got my virtual card just to find out what the process was. They're doing a monthly tournament as well. So
right.
there's and it's virtual unless you have access to a board.
Is it Ed that you talked that Ed? I think his name's Ed.
Over at Phoenix. I don't remember who I spoke to. It was a chat. So I'm not sure who it was specifically. And then I just went to their website and signed up. I was looking for a board in my area.
Right.
And there are some, they're about 50 miles plus away from me. And it's like, I don't know if I'm going to drive that far.
That's a funny thing. Just real quick story. Mark Mears out of Florida, Kelly Mears and Tyler, they're great shots. They play the PPD. They drive, I think, an hour and I want to say, I'd say a little bit over an hour to play so they can qualify for these monthly events and, TOC events. So that's what's going to come down to is like you, it's going to be like, if I want to play to a soft tip, am I going to drive? But as you said, if you talk to Phoenix or, local tavern in your area, see if they're open to bring a board in. I like people all the time, go, talk to the tavern, see if they're open, But the operators they're not just true, dartboard, they're operators. So they want to put more than just a dartboard in a location. So you have to tie in something to get that dartboard. So
and I need to take coffee and darts into a whole new realm and just open up coffee shops that have dartboards in them, and I'll be like Starbucks, and
that would be awesome.
We'll put dartboards on every corner.
Franchise it. You can franchise it, sell it up. You'd be great. You wouldn't be these interviews anymore. You'd be somewhere on the beach saying, "Man, was that?"
No, I if I'm on the beach, I got to have a dartboard with me. So that would have to be the thing. And just to get back to some of the experiences that you've had with soft tip, and I know one of the, because I've watched online, there's Gino, and I'm blanking on Gino's last name. He actually plays for Championships Dart Circuit, so he's playing steel tip, and he's playing Gino Florane, who he's out of the East Coast and he plays a lot of soft tip. But when I watch tournaments online that are soft tip related, it seems like there's this crowd involvement. There's, everybody's cheering for everybody. It's different than when you go to a steel tip, like everybody's like quiet and, people are talking in the background real quiet, but it seems like there's this excitement behind a soft tip. And I've never been to a soft tip tournament. So am I right on that? Am I off?
Oh, yeah, 100%. When you like I've been to steel tip tournaments, and a lot of times it's like golf, like you can't move, you don't move, you're waiting for someone to hold up a sign, be quiet. You go to a soft tip tournament, it's almost like a concert atmosphere. People are just, it's so crowded, and the people, when you start to move in the bracket and you start getting closer and closer, and sometimes not even moving in the bracket, you could be your first match and you have a little clique of people following you around, and then that gets bigger and bigger, and it gets louder and louder, and they cheer. It's a phenomenal feeling because, I had that experience. I was at the TOC, and we're in the lower level, but we were playing for first and second place. I turned around because I use headphones, to block out stuff. And there must have been 40, 50 people watching our match, and I felt like a superstar. I was like I was standing on the chair going, yeah, getting them all riled up. But that's just me, my character. I get a little crazy.
Well, that's okay. That's the beauty of darts, right?
But at the same time, but people, they really energize. You have to go to a soft tip tournament or, regional or something big and just sit back and experience it. It is an experience. It's a great experience.
Yeah, that's what I've seen, at least online when I've watched some tournaments, and I've heard from some different players that have played in them. Just that it's a totally different atmosphere than a steel tip. Steel tip seems to be, it's almost more gentlemanly, if you understand what I'm getting. Like they're like, okay, it's like you got a tie on.
Right. It's real tight. Yeah, it's loose. Like I was at a TOC once where they had the cricket challenge, and they had all these pros come in. I watched, and it's on YouTube. I seen Boris. I can't even say his last name, from Europe. Big, tall dude.
I can't think of his last name, but I know who you're speaking about.
Like an 8 5 or in a cricket game, and I watched it out. It was like phenomenal, and people were cheering, and these top shots didn't even blink an eye. It was like they expected it.
Yeah. So what are some of the, because I just want to touch base on this, because there's as much as darts is inclusive and there's this love of the game for everybody in it, we do see the combative atmosphere when it comes to soft tip versus steel tip. Because the segments are bigger on soft tip, and there's all these, I was watching the PDC the other day, and there were some comments. I don't remember who the commentator was, but they made a comment about soft tip kind of downplaying soft tip like it wasn't a real sport. And I was like, who the heck are you to say that? One, you're hurting the sport by opening your mouth that way. But two, I mean, do you see this? Do you see that conflict? I mean, I've heard about it. I've seen it online. I don't understand it.
I don't see, well, I think I don't see too much of a conflict. I mean, I do, we're steel tippers will say, my average is better on steel. I don't do quite as good on soft tip, or vice versa. A soft tip, like I can't play steel. I don't want to play steel because there's math involved. Here it's a lot easier. But I don't like. I didn't hear that announcer, but I kind of disagree with it, because like Paul Lim was phenomenal steel tip and soft tip player. Boris, phenomenal soft tip player and steel tip player. And I think in the U.S. there's more money to be made at soft tip and I can't tell you why, than there is for steel tip. The money is available. I've seen Darren Young at soft tip tournaments, and you've seen him. He's steel tip, he's on the stage.
Yeah.
Jeff Smith, from Canada, both soft tip and phenomenal steel tipper. So, yeah. Like I said, with that announcer, I disagree with that. It's soft tip is and I was like one of the last steel tippers to go over, because I didn't believe in it, but I do. It's here. It's here to stay. It's for real. It's a for real game.
For sure. And I mean, if anybody remembers when Phil Taylor retired, the next year he went and played the Worlds over in Asia. They have this tournament where they've got all the superstars, and I think it's 5 or 6 tournaments. And he went over there and played, and he was doing well. He lost. He won one of the tournaments, I know for sure, because I watched that, but I know that he lost out on a couple other tournaments. It's a slightly different game. But even Phil Taylor will tell you that he loves the soft tips. I've heard him in interviews that he loves the difference in the action in the sport, or just that change from steel tip to soft tip. But I bring this up because I'm seeing more and more of the conversation happen in the threads about soft tip versus steel tip, and I think the reality is they're just different, but they're the same, and no one's better either way. Yes, there's the math aspect when it comes to steel tip versus the soft tip, because soft tip is typically counted out for you. But I don't think that's a good reason to make something better than anything else.
Right. I mean, it's still the stroke. You have to hit the number. If you throw a ton 80 on a steel tip board, and you throw it's just as impressive to throw a ton 80 on a soft tip board, or a 9 mark on you throw back-to-back 9s on a steel tip, or back-to-back 9s on a soft tip board. They're equally impressive, because it's the stroke. You have to hit it.
Yeah. And segments being slightly larger on a soft tip board doesn't change anything. And here's the other thing that I don't think a lot of people understand. There's a weight difference within the darts. You're playing an 18, 20, maybe a 21 gram in soft tip, but there are regulations
exactly
to the weight. You can't throw a 26 gram,
Right.
So you are. it's almost kind of like NASCAR in the fact that it regulates you down to where you're similar within the darting parameters.
Correct. Yeah, there's limitations on what you. I got, for example, I said when I made the transition from 28, I had to go to 18 gram. It took me 6 months to get that feel for an 18 gram dart.
Yeah. So if I'm correct, it's 18, like 8. Is it?
I think it's. You can go down low. You just can't. I believe go over 22 combined weight.
Okay.
Gram.
Yeah.
And that's flight, shaft, barrel.
Yeah, I thought it was like the highest barrel weight would be 21 grams. Then of course you added another gram for those other pieces, and then you can go as if you want to throw a 2 gram dart for some reason. I guess you'd be welcome to.
I played in events where we played against people that used bar darts. That's the darts they used. So
yeah, I have a friend who over in Europe, his girlfriend plays bar darts, and she beats him. And he plays regularly, and he doesn't understand it. But that's what she grew up on. So
yeah. It's in the stroke. If you're used to that weight, then you're good.
Yeah. So, and it's funny here. Bullseyes and Brewskis threw this in here. He's like, "Hey, I agree. Darts are darts, and people should show respect." And I agree with that. There's enough argumentative stuff in the world to talk about. Darts doesn't need to be one of them. So I'm curious, I haven't seen much about Leonard Gates lately. Now I haven't looked up to see if there's anything that I missed in the news. Have you seen much of Leonard Gates?
What I've seen is, Soldier, Leonard Gates, AKA Soldier, he played in that 3-day event I told you, mentioned that the PPD ran a couple weeks back. And other than that, because usually you see him, here or there, but there's no big event, soft tip events, Sometimes, I don't know what it's like over in Europe or Asia, if anything's going on over there. If they start to open up, to big events, because I'm sure, because I've seen him go over to, like online, he went to South Korea, different places. And I just haven't seen it. I've met him. I don't know him personally, so I don't know what's up with him. Other than I know he's in the PPD now, and he's playing online.
Yeah. Well, in regards to Asia and what's going on, with the Worlds, of course, they shut down for this year, and there's a little bit going on that I've seen online over in South Korea. There's been some stuff. Japan. There's been a few smaller tournaments that have happened, but nothing of the significance that we're used to. And I do want to say I did see, and the reason I bring up Leonard Gates is because when I did the Phoenix stuff yesterday, looking into that more, which Roy, I got to give Roy a shout out because Roy was the gentleman that mentioned, hey, what about Phoenix darts? His name was on there. So Leonard Gates' name was there. So I don't know if he's playing the Phoenix system as well as the other. I would assume he is.
I think so. I think that Phoenix is, I don't know everywhere they are, but I think they got a good amount of boards. I think in Texas. I think that's where Leonard's from, the Texas area. I think, and I think he's playing. I think he's playing Phoenix as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just curious because we were seeing Darren Young, who is known for playing soft tip. Right. We've seen him with the championship start circuit. He's been doing the steel tip, and of course, he won a tournament a couple weeks ago. And then he announced that he's dealing with some vertigo issues. Yeah. So again, I know I mentioned this last week, but for those that don't know, Darren Young is dealing with some vertigo issues. So if you're the praying type, he and his family could probably use those. Apparently, it's not affecting him, so he can't do certain things. But darts is a struggle for him. But I'm kind of missing because I used to watch some of the world stuff because it would show up on Facebook, and you get darts is on. It's like you're like trapped to it. You got to watch it. Next thing you know, 3 hours goes by, and you've had a good 3 hours. It's better than going to a movie. But I'm kind of missing some of the soft tip that was out there to watch. So I'm hoping it comes back. Do you have any, I mean, because you're running tournaments and doing stuff, is there a thought of maybe doing something from a virtual standpoint for the things that you're doing?
As of right now, I'd like to do. I've been thinking about doing something that would be. I would have to. I'd like to do something national on a national level, but like it's hard for me to. I've just been thinking about it, but from a local standpoint, I'd like to try to do some, online tournaments, but we're because of the COVID, I can't just announce, hey, we're going to do an event because I can't. If the bars aren't located, I can't do it from home. I know that what is it, the Grand Board community, or they do some tournaments, online where you can get into. But until this thing is over, or calm down enough where they allow people to the bar owners to open up and allow occupancy to go up above 50%, where players can get in and play, then I can start thinking about trying to do some sort of virtual event.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a struggle, and it is the one slight downside for soft tips that I see. I mean, of course, you have the Grand Board, so the downside and the beautiful side to these things, like with Grand Board and Nexus, and there's like the V Darts, I think makes one, and there's another board out of Europe that has all the social connections. You literally you can play anybody around the world on. With these particular boards, which is a huge benefit and has been a benefit for years with them. But the downside is, trying to put together a tournament where people might have, like someone might have a Nexus versus someone that has a Grand Board, and how do you interconnect them? This is just a thought in regards for soft tip, those that are playing it and looking to try to do tournaments with people that don't have them. And let me know what your thoughts are on this, Tony. Dart Connect. They now have a video option where you can actually use the camera on the tablet or your phone so that you can see, besides just having the counting section on there. And of course, they do cricket and other things on there. Do you think this would be a viable option for people that are playing different soft tip boards to do something?
Yeah, I think it'd be a great thing if they can get it going. But where I'm a little surprised that the bull shooter people haven't come up with a way to do a virtual tournament, because I think the capabilities out there, they just have to figure out a way. I think they could have huge events online, like in PD they had the last event in 3 days, just ballparking, I think they had over 1,000 people playing online. That's big,
Yeah.
They coordinated it all, and it all went off without a hitch.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm seeing, as we're talking about this, I'm seeing that there's like a disconnect within the soft tip board market, in the fact that there's not an app out there, or a thing that I know of anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there, that allows you or encompasses being able to play any board. It's like Grand Board just wants the Grand Board people, Nexus wants the Nexus. So there's this divide. It's kind of the benefit with steel tip is it doesn't matter if you've got a Winmu, and I know I said that wrong, the Winmore board versus the shot board or anything like that. You're just using a camera and an app to play. But I think with Dart Connect, you could get around these differences, these separations, and be able to play.
If they could come up with an app, or maybe someone's already working on it, where you can incorporate all these different, Dart Connect, V Darts, Grand Board, and that would be huge.
Yeah. Yeah, if there was a way to, like a soft tip app that allowed you, no matter what brand you've got, to log into. There's $1 billion idea for someone out there that wants to create it. So just give me, Tony and I we want 5%.
We just want 5%. We're not greedy, just 5%.
Yeah, we'll even split that. I'll take 2.5. Tony will take 2.5.
Yeah, $1 billion. Yeah. You might be playing darts, but I'll be on the beach.
You can play darts on the beach, man. You just got to take a stand and set it up.
I'll just play lawn darts.
Yeah, lawn darts. That's a sport we need to bring back for sure. Hey, I survived lawn darts in the 80s, man. And we used to do the throw it in the air and see who could stand there the longest. Yeah, we did that. Yeah. Yeah. We put helmets on a couple of times and pads, like football pads. And we would do that. And it hurts when it hits you in the helmet. I'm just telling you. And not that I know from experience anyway. So, hey, Tony, we are getting to the end of the show. It's been like an hour of us chatting. It's been awesome. I'd love to just sit here and do this more, but I got to let you get to your day as well. Thank you for being on the show. We didn't even get to talk much about Trinidad, so I'm going to have to bring you back.
All right.
We can talk about Trinidad and the barrels. And just so that everybody knows, Condor and Trinidad, they sponsor something like 75 to 100 professional darts players around the world. A big chunk of them being soft tip players over in Asia. But I'd love to chat more about what Trinidad is going on.
Yeah, well, one last thing. Like we're in where I live, I don't know where you live. You go into a bar and play darts, you got to wear a mask. So just remember, if you get up, you have to put your mask up. So if your ass is up, hold that mask is up.
There you go. That's a good saying. You need to get that. That should be like a Trinidad T-shirt or something.
Yeah. If your ass is up, pull the mask is up.
There you go. That's a good one. Hey, again, Tony, if you just hang on for a second, I'm going to close the show out, but I really appreciate you being on. And to everyone else, thank you so much for catching episode 51. I started the show off wrong and said it was 50, but it was 51. Thanks for hanging out with Tony and myself. Catch him on Facebook. Just look up Tony Zikas. He is probably already your friend if you're in the darts community, but if he's not, just go ahead and friend him. And he's got lots of great information in regards to the darts community. He's constantly posting. And at the same time, if you're looking for some Condor flights, hit him up if you can't find him out there, and he'll get a set to you, and then you'll fall in love with them and become an ambassador yourself. Don't forget, guys, this particular jersey will be up on the website in the next couple of days. You'll be able to purchase that. And check us out over at Patreon at patreon.com/atomicdarts. You may be our winner this next quarter. We got some cool stuff we're giving away then. And I think I'm going to give a jersey away as well as a set of darts. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys. Let's see, today's Wednesday, so maybe Friday. But for sure next week, we've got some exciting stuff coming up, some exciting interviews for you guys next week that are already in the loops. I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks again.